Well, folks, if you've been waiting and hoping for that live-action Dragonlance TV show headed up by Joe Manganiello, it ain't happening, at least not according to him. Before we get into that, of course, if you haven't already, please do click the subscribe button and click the bell icon for notifications about this and other videos. And if you like the video, please do give it a thumbs up and leave us a comment down below. And I would also like to remind you that this video is brought to you by our friends at Hellebarde Games. Hellebarde makes the kind of adventures they'd like to play. Whether it's for the OSR or for 5th edition, Old School is in play at the table with Hellebarde, and you can find them at DriveThruRPG or on their website, hellebardegames.com. So let's go ahead and jump into this. This comes to us from comicbook.com. And they've got all the deets here. This is an article from Christian Hoffer. So let's take a quick look at this. Dragonlance live action project not moving forward, according to Joe Manganiello. It goes on to say, Joe Manganiello has some bad news for Dungeons & Dragons fans, especially those who loved the epic fantasy series Dragonlance. Speaking with comicbook.com's Chris Killian in an exclusive interview, the True Blood and Justice League actor confirmed that a proposed live-action Dragonlance project he'd been working on for years was not moving forward, despite the script receiving high praise from several Hollywood producers. Dragonlance is not a property Wizards in the Coast are interested in developing further currently, Manganiello said. He said the planned project was not moving forward due to several issues, including Hasbro's sale of the E1 studio and the poor performance of a Dragonlance D&D adventure and board game in 2022 as reasons why the project was not proceeding. And, of course, the fact that Hasbro has laid off a ton of staff, including people who can interface with the movie industry, at least, probably has a lot to do with that. But that's, we'll get into my opinions in just a minute. In the interview, Manganiello spoke about the work he spent attempting to turn the Dragonlance novel series, which features a group of heroes fighting against a dark goddess of dragons and her forces of evil. Manganiello worked with a script writing partner and consulted with novel writers Tracy Hickman and Margaret Weis on the project. Tracy and Margaret were all about it, Manganiello said. It was really me getting in there and fleshing out the world they built, and a world they hinted at in some places but didn't shine the magnifying glass on. He also mentioned that he was inspired by HBO's treatment of True Blood, which was based off of the Southern Vampire Mysteries novel series. What I had planned for the first season was just mind-blowing, Manganiello said, speaking about his plans for the series. I want to make the Dragonlance show because I want to see it, and I just want to feel that excited and electric about something. The characters, like the casting, I have a lookbook with over 1,000 pages, but it's not what you expect. The design concepts I had for the world, for the armor, for the swords, I had a fresh take on what the dragons were going to look like. It was going to be nothing like anyone had ever seen, and these beloved characters that have been read by, I think Tracy said there's 35 million copies in circulation. He said that the script had been prepared, he prepared for Dragonlance pilot, was well received by those outside of Hasbro and E1. The biggest fantasy literary agent in town, he said, these are his words and not mine, that it was the best fantasy pilot he's read since the original Game of Thrones. There was another executive that read it and said it was one of the best fantasy scripts he'd ever read. I actually got an email just this morning from a producer who said it was awesome and that he wanted to send it to the rest of his company and hopes I develop another fantasy IP. I didn't write a script that was terrible, Manganiello said. Well, I mean, who would admit to that? Calls were made to say this is what you should be making, this is what you should be doing, but currently to no avail. Manganiello also mentioned that he even attempted to buy the rights to Dragonlance. I offered to buy Dragonlance. I was talking to people with money just to get it and separate it so that I could get the option and take it out on the town. However, his efforts have currently reached a dead end. Although he's optimistic, things could change. Maybe somewhere down the line, someone comes back or the company switches hands and somebody sees the value, Manganiello said. So there's a few things to take away from this. First of all, again, as I said early on, I kind of tipped my hand a little bit. I absolutely think this dovetails into the layoffs. There's simply no one at Hasbro Wizards of the Coast who can handle this right now. They have been stripped down for maximum aerodynamic flight, perhaps into someone else's hands. But that may or may not be. But honestly, something else, and I hope this doesn't rile anybody up, it sounds to me also like he may have been taking the seed of the idea of Dragonlance and doing something just completely different with it that didn't fit Wizards of the Coast's idea of what Dragonlance could be or should be. And of course, well, we've seen Wizards of the Coast creativity and how that plays out, so maybe it would have been a good thing. Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman seemed enthused about it, but of course, all we have is Joe's statement. But what he said at the end, maybe somewhere down the line, someone comes back or the company switches hands and somebody sees the value, I think is a very pointed shot at Wizards of the Coast. And it's been something that we've been saying here for a long time. They don't care about their properties. I think they got a little burned because the Dungeons and Dragons movie wasn't, Lord of the Rings level popular. And so now they've thrown out the baby with the bathwater, and the net result is that a potentially good series, something that might have been enjoyable, has suffered. So there we are, Dragonlance fans. I'm sorry, or if you were cringing and not looking forward to this at all, congratulations. But regardless of that, I think it's going to be a good long while before we see an actual Dragonlance movie hit. But of course, what do you guys think? I mean, do you have any strong thoughts either way on this? Do you feel like Manganiello had a great vision for something that would have been absolutely awesome? Do you think that we dodged a bullet? Do you think it hinges on Hasbro or Wizards of the Coast financials? I, for one, I've got some opinions about celebrity gamers, but this is neither the time nor the place. So you guys let me know what you think down in the comments below. Again, thanks for watching the video. If you like it, do give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about this. And as there are any developments, of course, I will bring them to you. And I do want to mention the link to this article on comicbook.com will be down below. And I will link to a video interview with Joe where he discusses this, so you can have that to chew over. But until then, guys, I guess keep your Dragonlances on pen and paper, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.